Hello, everyone. Welcome in to this new live stream. We have the Boston Celtics controlling the Eastern Conference here after a big win versus the Philadelphia 76ers. The Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers were the two top teams in the Eastern Conference once again. Last time they battled last week on last Wednesday, the Sixers came in and beat the Boston Celtics, but tonight the Boston Celtics came in and took control in Philadelphia. We have a full post-game reaction here for you guys. We'll be breaking that down, going over my thoughts from this game tonight and your guys' comments as well. Let me know what you guys think after this big win from the Boston Celtics in the comment section down below, and we'll get to your questions and or opinions with this Boston Celtics team. But honestly, this was just a great game top to bottom from the Boston Celtics. They were without two of their superstar players. They did not have Jaylen Brown and they did not have Kristaps Porzingis tonight, and they came out and dominated in this game. Jason Tatum stepped up for the Boston Celtics, and the bench was huge tonight. Big performances from a lot of guys. That's something that you love to see and break down. So we have that all for you guys here on Celtics Digest. With the starting lineup with Jaylen Brown and with Kristaps Porzingis being out tonight, Sam Hauser and Al Horford got the nods in the starting lineup tonight. And even though Sam Hauser didn't perform the best, only shooting 33%, shooting 2 for 8 from three-point range, he did have a solid performance for the Celtics, finishing with 8 points. Al Horford was an impactful piece for the Boston Celtics tonight, finishing with 14 points and with 9 rebounds. But Al Horford was dominant on the blocks. 5 blocks from Al Horford, a team total of 7, where 5 of them came from him. He stepped up huge for the Boston Celtics defensively tonight. And there were also great performances from Drew Holiday as well. He finished with 18 points and 10 rebounds, playing great defense as well. And we also saw a big performance from Derek White. In the fourth quarter, he was electric, finishing with 27 points for the Boston Celtics. And Jason Tatum obviously dominating as well, finishing with 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists with 2 steals. This Boston Celtics team played great together as a team, and they also had some impactful performances on the bench as well. You have Peyton Pritchard, who played solid for the team, only shot 2 for 5 from the field. And even though Delano Banton only shot 1 for 4 from the field tonight, he did bring some energy to the Boston Celtics. That is something you don't see. Svi Mykhailiuk also shot 50% from the field, but he looks ready to go when he comes in to hit those threes, and I would expect him to be tossed in the rotation a little bit if there are some injuries, as he can be a sharpshooter for the Celtics on some games. And if he gets hot, he could be a lethal piece for this bench once he gets unlocked. And Luke Kornet had a big performance for the Celtics tonight, shooting 100% from the field, 4-4-4, 3 defensive rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds for a total of 6, 1 assist, 1 steal, 9 points. Loved what I saw out of this roster, and we have now the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference to ourselves. The Celtics are locked in at that number 1 seed. They are going to be playing at an intense level and beating a team who, yes, the Sixers did come off a back-to-back with Indiana and a tough loss yesterday, and they did have not Kelly Oubre. The Celtics still did not have 2 of their 3 best players and still came out on top tonight. Sixers had some great performances overall as well, but the Celtics were just too good for this 76ers team tonight, and it came up clutch in the end. In the fourth quarter, the Celtics were dominant. Obviously, in the first quarter, the Celtics came out on a hot streak and had a huge lead, and then in the second quarter, the Sixers brought it back. It was a close game after that, but the Celtics clearly dominated in the fourth quarter and took a control of it, and that's how it finished for the Celtics. Josh Crampton says a huge win for the number 1 seed. That's what I'm saying. I'm super ecstatic that the Celtics now control the East. Our next game is on Friday versus the Toronto Raptors, who we recently beat on Saturday as well in a dominating performance. This time it's for the in-season tournament. So hopefully the Celtics on Friday can get a nice win in the in-season tournament on the road versus the Toronto Raptors. Start off the in-season tournament 2-0 and keep this win streak continuing, as they've been dominant the last couple of games. Ever since we went on that 2-game loss streak, the Celtics have woken up and they are ready to perform. Rob Vera says, not impressed with Banton. He looked lost. I would have rather Lamar played still. And Derek White, we trust. He bailed us out with this game. Good game from Luke and Drew as well. JT had some ugly turnovers. Yes, definitely had some ugly turnovers early on. But Jason Tatum got his rhythm going towards the end. And that's what helped us out in the fourth quarter alongside Derek White. I definitely believe that Derek White is a key piece to this Celtics team. I think he is one of those glue guys. He's kind of taken that Marcus Smart role of doing everything, and Al Horford contributed to that as well tonight, which was very successful for this Celtics W. I know Banton wasn't impressive as well. I know he smoked a layup. He missed some threes. He doesn't look the great offensively, and that is why he doesn't get the most minutes. But you got to love the energy that some of these guys on the low end of the bench bring, because when there are injuries to guys like Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis, their number will be called, and they will have to step up for the Celtics. And that is something that you want to see from this team, as some of our younger guys towards the end of the game, when their number is called, they're not slow and sluggish. They're ready to go and pounce on that opportunity. And even though Delano Banton was unsuccessful on the offensive side of the ball, he looked like he was ready for that call and looked like he was prepared to bring some energy for the team. Would have liked to see Stevens. We haven't seen Stevens in a lot of games recently, so I don't realistically understand why that is, and I would definitely like to see him get some minutes, because I think he's an underrated piece for the Celtics as well. Robert Ellis says, Celtics coming up big, 76ers not so much. 2-game swing if you count Sixers lost last night. Woo! Yeah, I'm super, super excited for the Boston Celtics getting this win tonight. Now they obviously sit atop the Eastern Conference. They'll be first, and hopefully they'll be able to keep that under control, as we will be playing, the Raptors, and I believe we play the Hornets on Sunday. So looking like hopefully some easier wins for the Boston Celtics in the next couple of days to keep that number 1 seed still intact. Ty Coffee says, gigantic W. Definitely a gigantic W for the Celtics tonight. This win was definitely needed to take control, and it's definitely great to feel that satisfaction of having the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference after losing last week and losing control to the 76ers just a week ago. JT got the dagger, though, and clutch challenge from Mazzulla. Great defense from Drew, White, and Al at this game. And the last shout-out from me goes to Al for snapping out of his shooting slump. Great win. That is true, Rob. Al Horford was in a bit of a shooting slump. That is why a lot of Celtics fans, I don't believe, were very happy with him. But he's finally gotten out of it in a big game, too, where his number is being called. Obviously, Kristaps Porzingis not really being there. And with a weakened front court already what it is, with Al Horford a little bit older, and Luke Kornet being solid for the Celtics in some points, but also looking a little bit lost in some games as well. He and Al Horford stepped up huge for the front court tonight, and they definitely deserve their pats on the back as well. I love that Joe Mazzulla challenged that call as well. I think that was a huge challenge and swayed the things in the fourth quarter towards the end, which let the Celtics feel more confident as well. Ty Coffee, I suggest watching Ben off ball. Not saying he's a star or anything, but very disruptive to opposition O. I definitely think so as well. That's what I see Banton being. He's more of, I don't want to call him a wing, even though he is the size of a wing. I want to call him more of like a 2 or 1, because he does handle the ball on offense, even though he's not the greatest ball handler, and he definitely is, as we've seen, can't score the ball as efficient as the Celtics would want him to be at point guard. I think that Banton can be an effective defensive piece for the Celtics to come in and disrupt and stop opposing guards that do really good. Putting him on Tyrese Maxey to kind of stop him and stutter his gameplay, I think, is an effective piece that the Celtics could look at in the future with using him with other guards as well, especially if we have some injuries in our rotation as well. Ty Coffee, Al owns Embiid. He definitely does. He is the Embiid stopper. He also is the Giannis stopper, as well, as we've seen in recent history. Al Horford has been that guy to lock up on the opposing big man that the Celtics need to put pressure on, and he's successfully done it when his number's been called on. Rob says, I do. He looks lost. He misses rotations and triple teams when Embiid didn't dribble yet. The guy isn't ready, can't make a shot, and missed bunnies. Lamar and Svi should be playing over him. I definitely think that Lamar should be getting some minutes. I was questioned on why he didn't get any minutes. And same thing with Neemias Queta. Neemias Queta was available for the first time in the Celtics regular season, and he did not get the call tonight. We'll have to wait and see how Neemias Queta's production will look for the Celtics once he gets ready. Maybe he needed a couple more days. He wasn't game ready, but we'll have to wait and see with Neemias Queta on that. Robert Ellis, I think we have to start having a serious conversation about JT being the NBA's MVP. That's what I'm saying, Robert. I totally agree on that. I said at the beginning of the season, if you guys want to look back or if you missed that video, we had a little bit of a season predictions and I had some hot takes. I obviously said Peyton Pritchard would be in the 6th Man of the Year candidate race, and that's obviously not going to be happening. But I did say that Jason Tatum, I think, would be in the top 3 votes for MVP, and I definitely think he's been making his case this season so far, and I definitely think that he has potential to be the MVP this year if he keeps up playing this well and if the Celtics are maintaining the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Shiv Patel says, can we get Tice? The Celtics can get Daniel Tice. It is very possible for them. He is eligible to be signed after he was waived because his contract was over a certain limit with the CBA, with the Celtics being in the second apron. But unfortunately, it looks like that the Los Angeles Clippers are going to be the team that is going to snag him. The Celtics want to get him. They could definitely bring him on, but I think he already has a kind of deal locked in with the Clippers because he knows his role is going to be solidified with the Clippers. But we'll have to wait and see. There could be a switch of teams where he does sign with the Boston Celtics, but I'm pretty sure it's locked in for the Clippers at this moment. Josh Crampton says, Al Defs regrets going to Philly, LOL. Definitely regrets going to Philly, but he definitely rejuvenated that by coming back, obviously. When he was on the Thunder and we made that trade for Kemba Walker, I know a lot of Celtics fans weren't really sold back on Al Horford coming back after he kind of traded with us and left us for the Philadelphia 76ers. But he's been very impactful for the Celtics ever since he's been back, and I truly think that he loves the city of Boston and that he will be a Celtic for life and he will retire as a Boston Celtic. To be fair, though, Svi also looks lost on defense as well, but at least Svi makes shots. Banton is also very guilty of not boxing out. He's a net negative out there. If we need defense, we play Lamar. I definitely think that Lamar Stevens should be getting some looks, and he is an effective defender. Same thing with O'Shea Brissett. We did not see any O'Shea Brissett minutes tonight as well, which is a little bit questionable for me. And Svi does look a little bit lost on defense. That's why I believe that Sam Hauser has gotten more of a role over him, as Sam Hauser is a better defender and has been more consistent on his shot making as well, as Sam Hauser is leading the NBA in 3-point percentage before tonight's game. I don't know about it after right now, but before this game he was. Renji TV says, big confidence boosting win for the supporting cast moving forward. That's what I definitely agree on as well. I think this was huge for the bench to step up and have a big game. Like if I look at the stats right here, we can see that obviously Svi, Cornette, Banton, Pritchard, Hauser, and Horford all had to have impactful games tonight. And that's 6 or 7 guys for the Celtics that had impactful games that haven't really shown out for this team so far. They've had some sprouts where in some games some of them have looked good, but they've never all gelled and clicked all at once. And this is the one game the Celtics came all together as a team, fighting through injuries, and they overcame one of their biggest challenges, beating one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, battling with injuries, which is something great to overcome. Their locker room must be going ecstatic. High hopes for this team, and I think we're going to be I knew we were going to be a strong contender, but I think we easily are going to be a top contender this season. Thai Coffee, did Stevens do something wrong and end up in the doghouse? I realistically hope not. I really like Lamar Stevens. I know he played on the Cleveland Cavaliers last year. He was a good role player for them. They obviously had to let go of him to bring in Georges Niang and Max Strus, and they got Max Strus giving him up to the Spurs. I was shocked that the Spurs decided to waive Lamar Stevens, as I thought he could be a good rotational piece for a young core as well. They're kind of in a limbo there in San Antonio where they're trying to be bad, and Lamar Stevens wouldn't really boost them that much, and he could have been a trading piece for them, I think, realistically, if they kept him in the future. But honestly, maybe he just hasn't looked the greatest in practice and some players are outperforming him, but I definitely think he should get some shine. There was one game, I don't recall which game it was off the top of my head, but Lamar Stevens did come off as the first guy off the bench in one of our games. So realistically, he has seen some playing time and it has worked. I just don't know realistically what's happened in recent days for Lamar Stevens not to get the most gameplay recently. Only if Tice got bought out by Indiana. Otherwise, nope. Yeah, he did get bought out by Indiana, Rob. He did get bought out. He is going to get waived, and they will re-sign. He said that he will be probably going to the Clippers because the Mason Plumlee injury. The Clippers only have Ivica Zubac as their center, so Daniel Tice can kind of bring a backup center role to them in their chance to competing as well. Shiv, he did get bought out today. He did. Fishy, what do you think we would have to give up for Caruso and or Drummond? That is very, very interesting. I love that you brought that topic up because I think that those are two great pieces that the Celtics could go after and bring into this team. I think that Alex Caruso is a great defensive point guard that could be a 6-7 man for the Boston Celtics. And I think Andre Drummond could be the solution for the Boston Celtics at the backup center. I mentioned that in my recent video today. So for Andre Drummond, I would think that maybe the Celtics could try to use the Grant Williams TPE with some picks to get Andre Drummond. If not, they would have to throw the likes of probably some picks, Jordan Walsh, maybe even O'Shea Brissett, some lighter guys at the bottom there. I do think for Peyton Pritchard going in a deal, it would have to be for Alex Caruso, but I think that Peyton Pritchard and some picks for Alex Caruso would be a good swap for the Celtics and for the Bulls if the Bulls are looking to rebuild, if they're going on a fire sale. Peyton Pritchard, putting him alongside Kobe White and Javon Carter, is a decent guard lineup with Lonzo Ball being out. And then when Lonzo comes back, you can always experiment because you have other guys on your roster as well, in like Dalen Terry and stuff. But I realistically think that Caruso and Drummond could be great pieces for the Boston Celtics. I realistically think Drummond would be the best fit, as I think the Celtics need that rim protection and that shot blocking that Andre Drummond presents. He's a great rebounder as well, and I think he would fit into this Boston culture. I know a lot of Celtics fans liked Andre Drummond when he was in his prime in Detroit and wanted him to come to the Celtics, so I think he would be a great fit as well on this team as a nice backup big. Rob Vera says, he did get bought out today. If we can get Tice, I'd be fine with it. Better Tice, in my opinion, over someone like Drummond. If the Clippers get Tice, I won't feel so bad about it, though. Refs hate Tice. That's the thing that I think is the refs do not really like Daniel Tice, and Daniel Tice does get a lot of foul calls. He also isn't the greatest defensive player. He doesn't crash the rebounds. That's not his game. He's a pick and pop type of guy. He's going to be looking to get his shots. He's more of an offensive big, and that's not the role the Celtics, I think, need. Drummond, I think, is a better fit as he's more of a defensive big. We need to do a 4-for-4 trade if we want Caruso. PP, Svi, Brissett, and Banton, plus a couple picks and absorbing Bulls depth. Pieces like Drummond, Craig, and Phillips into the Grant and Justin Jackson TPE. I wouldn't mind Torrey Craig as well for the Boston Celtics. I think he would be a great wing piece to bring in as well. But ultimately, I think that the Celtics would have to move off of, obviously, guys like Walsh, Brissett, Stevens, and that to bring him in because you still have to give Hauser minutes as well. Yao Fernandez says, big dub for Boston. Of course, a huge dub for the Boston Celtics tonight. We're ecstatic. I hope that you guys are ecstatic. The Celtics now take control of the Eastern Conference, and it is going to be great to have control over the Eastern Conference. Hopefully we have it for a long time. Josh Crampton says, bringing a true rebounder center like Drum could take our bench to the next level. I totally agree. I think that Andre Drummond is a big force to be reckoned with. He's also a great screener as well, and he could play some solid defense for the Celtics. When he was a starting center, he was treated around the league as a kind of net negative, but as a backup big, I think his value that he brings to the Celtics is impactful, and I think that he would be better than guys like O'Shea Brissett, Luke Cornett, stuff like that. Obviously, I still want to see some of our younger guys that at the end of the bench still get some playing time, as I want them to succeed and to be solid contributors on other teams as well, on our team as well. But if they cannot get to that level, I think that maybe they could get moved in a deal for another piece to help us get our banner 18. Yao says, I personally think Drummond would help out Boston better than Caruso because he solves our paint defense. That's what I'm saying. I think the paint defense is effective as well because Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis luckily can play at the perimeter. Drummond, not really that much, but if we have you can run Horford and Drummond alongside next to each other, and I do believe that you could run Kristaps and Drummond alongside each other as well. I think that would be very, very impactful to the Celtics front court, and I think it would be a dominating front court as well because Kristaps, Porzingis, and Andre Drummond both going for rebounds, both going for block shots. Kristaps playing out at the perimeter on defense would be unstoppable, and teams would have a headache trying to play against that. Rob says, of course, any trade for Caruso is impossible until past December 15th. If the Bulls want Lamar, no deal is possible until after Christmas. I wouldn't want to give up on Walsh this early, but if it's needed, sure. I personally wouldn't want to give up on Walsh either. I really, really like Jordan Walsh After Media Day, he was one of the players that I thought was going to be one of my favorites on the Boston Celtics. He said he wanted to come into this. He knew Boston culture. He knew that they want their fans to be giving it their all every night. He wanted to die for loose balls. He wanted to be that impact force for this Celtics team. And that was something that my ears wanted to hear after losing Marcus Smart. I want these young guys to come in and leave it all out on the floor, just like Marcus did. And guys like Derek White and Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown have been doing that, and Al Horford recently, but I know that a guy like Jordan Walsh can definitely do that. Unfortunately, we just haven't seen Jordan Walsh. He got sent down to Maine. He's been playing in Maine for now, but I really, really want to see him be an impactful piece for the Celtics, and maybe he can be an impactful piece, if the Celtics have some injuries, he gets brought up in game 40 or game 50, he gets to get some shine, and he actually will be a nice piece, and I would love for him to be that. But I do think that if the Celtics are going to have him in the G League right now, and if they are looking to trade a piece, he definitely has a lot of value that a teams definitely would like to see. And I think he actually could be an impactful piece in the NBA, regardless on what team he is, just because the skill set he has. So I think a lot of teams would be intrigued with him if he was a tradable piece. That's why I think he would be possibly to be traded. But if the Celtics are smart, they wouldn't want to let him go because he's going to be such an impactful piece in the future. There's rumors Celtics are looking to trade Horford and others for DeMar DeRozan since Bulls have been shopping. Woj tweeted it earlier today. What are your thoughts? I personally would not realistically be a huge fan of that. I know that that's kind of an all-in move, bring in DeMar DeRozan. He's a great wing piece that could play alongside. But we already have a bunch of stars on the Celtics team, and it would just be another mouth to feed on offense. And we already seen with Drew Holiday, his offensive shares have had to take a slight decline. Obviously, tonight he had to be a better offensive player for the Boston Celtics. But in nights where Kristaps Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum are all playing significant minutes, Drew Holiday has had the least significant impact on offense out of the core four. And if we just add another star to that mix, it might lose a little bit of their all offensive stats, and it might tank a little bit. Obviously, it would be a win now move, but it would make the contracts and the cap space very, very hard in the future for the Boston Celtics to get a deal done. And ultimately, Horford, maybe Pritchard, and some others for DeRozan. I don't know if that's a big, big deal for the Bulls. I don't know if that's one of the better offers they could get. I think that a team like the Kings or a team like the Knicks could offer better offers for DeMar DeRozan, or even a team like the Memphis Grizzlies, who seem to be in a little bit of a struggle here if they want to dish off some of their younger pieces to bring in a veteran. I think that a team like those three, the Kings, the Grizzlies, or the Knicks, could benefit off of DeMar DeRozan a little bit better than the Boston Celtics could. Could Drum also help KP stay out of foul trouble as much? I definitely think so, as well as Drummond will be prioritizing more of the big man guy. We also have seen Drew Holiday guard a lot of the bigs as well in some of these recent games. I think it's just a little bit of adjusting for Kristaps Porzingis, of having to be a little bit less forceful in the paint on getting these foul calls. Ultimately, some of these foul calls at the beginning of the season as well, I do believe, were not calls on Kristaps Porzingis that should have been called. The officiating at the beginning of the season has been a little bit wonky, but I think that KP will eventually learn how to stay out of foul trouble. I at least hope so he does, Josh. I really do hope so. Rob says, pass on Debo. We don't need another ball-dominant wing. I'd rather we'd keep Al. We need bigs. Al is our Embiid, Giannis stopper. We will need him in the playoffs. I'd rather have switch PP for Caruso. Totally agree. I'm not the biggest fan on the DeMar DeRozan trade. Definitely need Al for the front court depth, as we already are thin there, unless we are getting another big in the trade with DeRozan if we were to get Drummond back. But even still, it would still be a little weird not having a backup four or a solid backup four. Hell no, front court already too thin. I definitely agree, Thai Coffee. Procopio Mascapat, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Celtics should get another big. I definitely agree that the Celtics should look at another big. I realistically want to get Andre Drummond. I know a lot of Celtics fans wanted to get Daniel Tice. Let me know who you think the Celtics should get as their other big. Rob says, we don't have enough contracts to reach Debo. It would cost Horford plus White. That's an automatic pass for me. Drummond and Caruso are better Bulls trade targets. Drummond should keep Al fresh. That's what I totally think, Rob. I think that the Celtics won't be going after any of these big stars like Levine, Vucevic, DeRozan. I think their eyes should definitely be on some of these other rotational pieces like Drummond and Caruso. I think those two players are the better players that the Celtics could be going after, and definitely valuable pieces for the Celtics team to bring a championship in. Obviously, Pritchard has been solid, but it hasn't had some squeaky games where he hasn't looked the greatest. We've also seen Sam Hauser look solid for the Celtics, so a wing might not be the move for the Celtics at the backup piece, but a nice backup big to help out with Luke Cornett, O'Shea Brissett, or if Neemias Queta does step up, they might not even have to go after that backup big. I agree. Al is a huge piece for us. That's what I think, Josh. Tonight, just those 5 blocks alone with having no Kristaps Porzingis and no Jaylen Brown shows to me that when his number is going to be called, he's going to be impactful, and he realizes that. Even though Al is a veteran, even though Al has gotten severely older over the years and has looked a little bit bad on offense this season, I ain't going to lie. He hasn't had the greatest shooting stats this season. Tonight, he came up impactful when his number was called, and that's what we need from this bench unit. Peyton J says, Banton looked great defensively with his length. That's what I think. I think Banton can be an effective defender for the Celtics. I definitely think that he could be an effective piece that could guard some of these dynamic guards in the league we see with Tyrese Maxey, even some guards like in the Eastern Conference like Jalen Brunson or Damian Lillard that the Celtics will eventually run into in some of these games. I think that Banton could be a good stopper for them if they have injuries or if some guards get into foul trouble. Just honestly, the offense isn't the greatest from Banton that we've seen so far. Rob says, LOL, you and I must be watching different games. Banton looked terrible, missed box outs, overhelping, missed rotations, hands low, can't pressure, get drives off the path. Banton is a terrible defender. I wouldn't be too harsh on him. He definitely isn't the greatest player. That's why he's on the lower of the rotation. But Mazzulla felt confident in bringing him in tonight's game by bringing him the first one off the bench. And even though he didn't handle the ball great offensively, Mazzulla was trusting in him for tonight and felt that he was the best matchup for this team. So you got to trust what the coach believes in. And even though it sometimes didn't work out, there's going to be nights where he can perform and help out the Celtics. Not everyone's perfect every single night. We have another question. How much will it cost to get Caruso? I believe the deal that the Celtics could possibly get to get Caruso would be Peyton Pritchard and some second rounders or maybe a first. Obviously, you will have to gauge what the Bulls' value is for him. But I believe that if the Bulls were to move off Caruso, they would want another younger guard to come in and replace him. And I think Peyton Pritchard could be a nice young piece for the Chicago Bulls team if they decided to strip it all down and rebuild. I think he brings some great value alongside Javon Carter. Him and Kobe White, kind of similar players, but I think you can kind of decide which one you would rather. Peyton Pritchard's on a cheaper deal, so if you're also looking to move off Kobe White, maybe that's a move that you can make in the future as well, but we'll have to wait and see. Drummond also could help with the perimeter guys to be more confident since they get a defensive anchor in the paint. I totally agree, Yao. It would also allow those perimeter guys also to want to play on the perimeter. I've noticed with the Boston Celtics on defense, there's been a lot of double teams, and it's been leaving a lot of guys open on the perimeter to let some of these teams hit shots. It happened with the 76ers. It happened with the Brooklyn Nets recently, and the Celtics definitely need to limit that. So having Drummond in there might be able to help them out with that as well. Rob says it will cost $9+ million contracts, PP, Svi, Brissett, and Banton, and will cost a couple of picks. The Bulls want at least one first, and will probably want a couple of seconds. Would also use our TPEs. Definitely would have to do that to get one of those players. I definitely think that getting both of them in a similar deal would be hard. I think if the Celtics were to go after either Caruso or Drummond, they would only likely be able to get one, or they would have to do separate deals to get them, one doing with the TPE and one doing with contracts, as you cannot combine the TPE with contracts in trades. But I do think that with Zach LaVine being on the move, DeMar DeRozan possibly being on the move, and maybe even Vucevic as well, we'll see if the Bulls fully blow it up. But if they do decide to, maybe even Zach LaVine gets packaged with Alex Caruso, and then Drummond's just the piece that the Celtics can get. We'll have to wait and see ultimately. The Bulls have not had a great start to the season, so if they continue to lose some of these games and continue to go down this trajectory, we might see a surge of movement more quickly than we actually expected. Maybe around game 20, game 25, we'll actually see a movement, and the Celtics could possibly land some of those impactful role players that the Bulls have. I don't even mind Torrey Craig. I think Torrey Craig would be a great, valuable piece as well. I think some guys, obviously, that the Bulls would be interested in would probably be Peyton Pritchard. I realistically would not want to give up Al Horford for another piece, so I think the Celtics would limit him. I think the Celtics would want to keep Al Horford for their front court if they're going to bring in another front court piece. I like Drummond's rebounding. I don't like how he's like Gobert. He can't guard in space. He'll get played off the floor in the playoffs. However, against teams like Philly, he'll be useful to body Embiid. That's why I think he's impactful. I think he's going to be impactful versus guys like Embiid. I think he'd be an impactful versus guys like Giannis. Even guys like if the Celtics run into a matchup versus the Pacers in the first round, Miles Turner, a matchup versus the Cleveland Cavaliers with Jared Allen, I think he'd be solid against him. I think he would be solid against Mitch Robinson as well. I think that Andre Drummond could help out this Boston Celtics team against all those matchups as they all have dominant bigs. And it also takes some pressure off Kristaps Porzingis as well to be so impactful on both sides of the floor. He can just prioritize what side of the floor he wants to dominate, the offense or the defensive side of the ball, whatever the Celtics need. Kind of a similar role to how Derek White plays. Boston has the draft capital to get Drummond. I do believe that they definitely could get Andre Drummond on this team. We'll just have to wait and see how it could get done. Al Horford was insane. He was impactful for this team. Stepped up when he needed most. Let's look at Al Horford's stats. Just another rundown. 5 for 9 from the field. 4 for 8 from 3. 9 rebounds. 3 assists. 5 blocks. 14 points with a plus-minus of 14. Tremendous game from Al Horford. There's rumors Celtics are looking to trade for Steph Curry. They'd be trading Horford. Okay. They're not going to get Steph Curry. Drummond is solid versus Joel and Tibbs with Cat Gobert help as well versus Big. Yes, exactly, Josh Crampton. Versus a team like the Timberwolves, I think Andre Drummond would be a solid piece as well because as we saw in the Timberwolves game, Drew Holiday was guarding those bigs. He was guarding Karl-Anthony Towns and was making Karl-Anthony Towns not play the best game on offense. So if you have Andre Drummond to negate Gobert as well, you have a lot of options for Kristaps Porzingis to possibly be on some mismatches or Kristaps Porzingis to dominate the front court if they're slowing down. Drummond would be bad against someone like Miami or Indiana. Drummond is unsustainable for a TP in a second. Centers like him are highly valued in the league. Steph Curry treat rumor is first-rate trolling. Totally agree. That's what I think so as well. I think the DeMar DeRozan one might have been a troll as well. But Drummond, I think, would easily be attainable for a TPE and a second. But I think Alex Caruso would have to be a player involved. Maybe even you have to throw in a player like you said, Svi to get Alex Caruso. I think maybe a 2-for-1 right there for the Celtics. I think Drummond would be bad against someone like Miami, but with Bam, because Bam can create on offense. Miles Turner can kind of draw out to the 3, but I think he could lock down a guy like Obi Toppin as well, and if you put Kristaps out there, it would be solid. But that's what this live stream, we're going to be wrapping up this live stream, guys. I just want to say thank yous and shout outs to everyone that commented tonight on tonight's live stream. We got Rob, Josh Crampton, Asen, Yao, Procopius, Ty Coffee, Shiv, Renji TV, Robert Ellis. I just want to say shout out to all you guys. Thank you everyone for joining the live stream and commenting. The Celtics take control of the Eastern Conference. They take atop of the Eastern Conference. They are the true number 1 seed. We have an impactful game on Friday. The next game is versus the Toronto Raptors, the second in-season tournament game for the Boston Celtics. Hopefully on the road they can get a dominating W after they beat the Toronto Raptors at home last Saturday. Hopefully they can come out, play a similar game, get another victory versus the Raptors. Start off 2-0 versus the Raptors on the season start and 2-0 in the in-season tournament. We'll have more to break down for you guys on this YouTube channel. So if you guys are not subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button and to tune in for all the Celtics content that we provide. We'll have more post-game live streams. We'll have another one on Friday night following the Raptors and Celtics game to answer all your questions and comments about this Celtics team. Thank you guys so much for tuning in after a dominating performance from Jason Tatum, Derek White, and the Boston Celtics. Al Horford